Yo le gang, donc on enchaîne les vidéos. Donc là c'est la vidéo où on va parler justement de ce nouveau système, le housing. Et donc on va faire sa quête. Alors on m'a dit vraiment qu'elle a été très chiant pour le coup. Vraiment on m'a dit qu'elle est très chiant. Si j'ai bien compris c'est la quête de personnage de Yanfei. Yanfei que j'ai poule. Hein. Et voilà. Donc je pense même on va la prendre. Allez. Est-ce qu'on la prend? Parce qu'en fait, il faut savoir que moi, je joue par affinité. Hein. J'ai plusieurs persos qui sont 10. Je joue en fait vraiment juste pour l'affinité. Mais là, j'ai envie quand même de jouer Yanfei. Hein. Je l'ai pas pour rien. Ah oui, mais je peux pas trop la jouer. Ouais, c'est dommage. En fait, je peux, j'ai pas, bah, dommage, je pourrais pas. Parce qu'en fait, là, si je la joue, elle voit rien parce que j'ai pas assez de Mora pour l'améliorer. Ah, dommage. Donc on va faire la quête. Je vais l'enregistrer là. Mais si la quête est vraiment, bah aussi, on va dire chiante, hein, y a pas d'autres mots. C'est ce qu'on m'a dit, hein, vraiment, elle était assez chiante. Bah, je vous la mettrai pas et là vous allez passer directement au système de housing. Mais voilà, je pense, voilà, c'est la quête, on va dire, de personnages de Yanfei. Et on va voir si c'est intéressant. Mais c'est aussi surtout pour le système de housing. Donc, hop, je vous laisse ici.
Oh, no. You've done so much for Leah. In fact, my old friends and I have been putting our heads together to think of what sort of gift we might...
A gift? For Paimon?
Oh, child, you are so very modest. Uncommonly so, even. But when you traversed my old teapot in search of the cleansing bell, I heard your little friend mention that you often camp out in the wilds. That simply won't do. Fortunately, I have not yet grown so old as... Oh, did my friends never mention that to you? Well then, it is a blessing. I will not go into too much detail, but subspace creation is the ability to create. The teapot that you entered previously was a little trinket created using that.
So, in the eyes of an adeptus...
Oh, indeed, the teapot is nothing to boast of. One such as myself must depart from this realm to create a world of one's own. Rex Lapis, on the other hand, moved mountains and seas. That is what one might call an exercise. But that's enough nostalgia for now. The gift that I...
That's right!
Oh, settle down now, children. There's no... What's more, I doubt that you would... Well, for starters, I require some shimmer soil from the banks of... You would have to dig downward, following the roots of the glazed lilies. But almost no one has been able to find shimmer soil in this manner, since even more difficult to find is smaragdus jadeite, which must be chiseled from the rock of the chasm. Or so it used to be. Ever since the... In any case, smaragdus jadeite is an adepti treasure, and the adeptal power within is not something that most goodness knows if that child was...
Well, since you're an adeptus, Granny, the
yes. I suppose she does.
She counts? How come there are so many adepti in Liyue Harbor? We seem to bump into them all the time.
Oh, maybe so. Who can say?
I'm back, Granny. Oh, I don't believe we've met.
Allow me to do the honors. This child, Yanfei, I believe you already heard of the traveler and his traveling companion.
Of course, who hasn't? Much has been written about you in the Millilith's record. You became one of Liyue's most wanted after the Millilith marked you as a suspect following the incident at the Rite of Dissension. Before finally defeating an ancient god together with Granny and her associates, and a shame that we didn't meet sooner. If we had, well, I can't say that I would have been able to clear you of Allow me to introduce myself once more. I'm Yanfei, a legal advisor. Got a legal problem? You can come right to me. Oh, yes, here's my business card. You'll find it has my contact. If you have an urgent issue, just leave me a note at this address. Oh, and I almost forgot.
All right, Yanfei, all right. You'll have to excuse Yanfei. She's always been like this.
Paimon was gonna ask the same.
An Adeptus? I guess, kinda. My old man said he was one anyway. He mentioned that he once campaigned with Rex Lapis for a long old time, and then after that was all over, they had me, and once I was all grown up, the two of them upped and left on a journey, leaving me with Granny here.
Well, that's a bit casual for an Adeptus. Aren't you guys supposed to sign solemn contracts to protect Liyue Harbor and all that stuff? What do you mean he just whipped?
Well, my dad did say that he'd talked it through with Rex Lapis, and that he was fine with it. Even contributed towards the wedding gift, apparently. Anyway, let's not dwell on that too much. So, Granny, I've gotten a hold of most of the chasm's been sealed off, and there's just no way in. Couldn't secure any documentation either. Looks like the Ministry of Civil Affairs.
Is that so? Yanfei, are you sure you can't find some other way?
I know, Granny, you've told me 1,000 times already. Well, the chasm's definitely a no-go. Hold on.
Whoa, that's a really thick book. What kind?
Commercial consultancy. Crossel. A Snezhnayan merchant who once came to me with some legal... He mentioned that, so I guess I'll go look for him. With any... Oh, you want to join me? I suppose...
Wow. And best we be a little... Paimon coming in! Paimon coming in! Is this level okay? Can you hear Paimon?
Mr. Cross.
Oh, good. Very good. All thank...
You're too kind. I was simply doing my job. Now, I believe that the last time we met, you...
well, yes. As a matter of fact, in the end, I did miss Yanfei. Might I presume that you have an interest in the hairpins? I must apologize.
Wait, isn't Smaragdus jadeite really rare? Aren't you worried about the hairpins getting damaged?
No, I'm not worried in the slightest, because I signed a contract with Ms. Zhiqiao before renting them to her. The contract makes it quite clear that if she loses or damages the item in question, in return, I included a clause that guarantees the Smaragdus jadeite is genuine, with a penalty of 10 times the item's value payable by me to Ms. Zhiqiao in the event that it is shown to be a fake.
Guaranteed genuine, with 10 times the value payable if this claim is shown to be false. Yes, these terms...
Of course. This way, both the client and I have the assurance we need to ensure...
In that case, might you know where Ms. Zhiqiao lives? We'd like to pay her a visit and...
Oh, of course. She wrote her address down when we signed our contract.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Crossel.
Whatever shall I do? Yes, that's me. Is there...
How do you do, Miss Zhiqiao? We understand from Mr. Crossel, my associates and I are very interested in that.
The hairpins. I don't know how it could have happened. I always kept them right by my side, and I hadn't even worn them yet. I spent so much money on them. If I have to pay their original value, My family is in the ore business too, but we now have a backlog of paid-up orders just sitting around. So we've been having to purchase. A big banquet is coming up in a few days, and several ore merchants I know of will be there. I need this opportunity. That's what the hairpins were for, to keep up appearances. I can't, but now that I've lost the hairpins...
Why does Paimon have a set of strong...
Would you really? I sent a commission to the Adventurers Guild, but I haven't heard anything back from them yet.
Hold on. Don't run off looking for the hairpins just yet. Mr. Chow.
Huh? Well, I mean, sure, I have it right here.
Let me see.
That's right! Yanfei said she's a legal advisor, didn't she? True. Though surely there must be a win-win solution.
Right. I finished reading the contract. The terms are very clear, and they do indeed stipulate that you must pay Mr. Crop. Furthermore, the contract also expressly states that the amount of compensation, and given the rarity of Smaragdus Jadeite, I fear that the final amount...
Even higher? Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Jichao looks like...
However, all of this is assuming that it is indeed genuine Smaragdus Jadeite that was inlaid into the hairpin.
Did you really have to pause before saying that part? Anyway, whichever way you look at it...
Except that if we found the hairpins, there'd no longer be any need to check what...
Please. Please, Don't trouble yourselves over this. However much it is, I will have to pay it. My family are merchants. Now that it's come to this, I really shouldn't keep Crossel in the dark any longer.
Yes, legally speaking, it seems this is the most sensible course of action. So hold on a moment, Mr. Chow. When you first touched the hairpins...
What did I feel? Well, I remember that the gemstone... My family has seen much jade pass through its hands in the past, so...
Smooth to the touch. No, it's nothing. I just need to re-examine a few...
Ah, Miss Yanfei, you've returned. With Miss Jichao in tow.
About...
You lost them? Are you serious?
I'm sorry!
Mora! Do you have any idea what I had to go through to get... I just don't... Forget it. Talking won't bring them back. Since Miss Yanfei is here...
No problem. But before I can give an official estimate, I'll need to do a little market research. It was in fact genuine Smaragdus Jadeite inlaid into the hair...
Of course! Genuine article guaranteed, or I pay back 10 times the value.
Alright, understood. I'll conduct some market research, and once I'm back, I'll provide an official assessment of the sum owed by Miss...
Thank you very much. How could she lose my hairpins? She'd better pay every last mora that they're worth.
Looks like I'll have to find some way to raise that money.
Please wait, Mr. Chow. I have something to discuss with you. It's not convenient to speak here, so let's...
Miss Yanfei.
No. What I wanted to talk about is, there is a chance that the ore inlaid on those hairpins...
What do you mean?
Obviously not. I'm no adventurer, let alone a member of the guild. I don't run thankless, time-consuming errands for a living. I don't know if Granny told you this, but Smaragdus Jadeite is found deep underground, and if mere mortals come into contact with it, well, they'll be sick in the best case. And in the worst case, they could even experience a dramatic... Mr. Chow, did you at any time feel unwell while the hair...
No, not at all.
Now that is strange. I noticed earlier that there were elements... If I've deduced correctly, he may still have the Smaragdus Jadeite in his possession.
If that's the case, we should go confront him.
Absolutely not. If we were to confront him now, there's no way he would admit to it. and then he'd throw the Smaragdus Jadeite into the sea the moment we were gone. After that, he would simply insist that Mr. Chow pay up per the Meanwhile, we would have to look under every stone in Liyue, hoping and praying that the hairpins do actually still exist.
So vivid that Paimon thinks it might be
Oh, it certainly is. I've seen my fair share of situations like this, and brute force methods are certainly...
Well then, since you're so experienced in dealing...
Oh, that won't be a problem. But first, Mr. Chow, can I ask...
Huh? Does there have to be a contract for everything? Paimon can't even keep track. It feels like Yanfei is even more concerned with them than a certain sum.
These are my formal terms of engagement. Everything prior to now has just been pro bono advice. But for me to investigate any further, I require a written contract. Any work commissioned but not bound by a contract cannot be relied upon.
I understand.
No problem. Just sign here, and I'll sign too. Okay. Now, right, and I'll also need your signatures on pages 5, 7, and on the very last page.
This contract has so many pages.
All right, that should do it. My fees are the same as always, and they're written in the contract. Have a look through and...
I've had a read through.
Well then, here's your copy of the contract. I will retain the other copy. Not for now, no. Despite how intractable this problem might sound, I don't believe you have been part of an investigation.
Miss Yanfei, I have to ask.
Because, as it happens, I'm currently trying to acquire some Smaragdus Jadeite myself. I noticed whether he actually made it into an item of jewelry or not is a separate matter. But the idea of someone abusing the law to their advantage. But again, let's not dwell on this. Let's go to... I've got it. Let's pay if Mr. Crossell had his ore worked on at all, Chateau would...
Why, hello there, honored customers. Welcome to... Oh, it's you, Miss Yanfei. Is something the matter? Surely not more spurious claims that my jade betting is rigged and no one can ever win? Oh, I swear on all that is sacred.
No, nothing of the sort. Has a Snezhnine merchant named Crossell enlisted your ore processing services recently by any chance?
A Snezhnine merchant named Crossell, you say? I do remember that. He brought me a piece of ore, claiming that it was Smaragdus Jadeite. That was the first time I'd ever encountered it, so I had no way of telling if it was really Smaragdus Jadeite or not. But if a customer insists, far be it from me to contradict them. He was quite generous with his money, too, so I didn't give it too much thought. I processed the ore as per his request.
Do you have any leftover debris from your work on it?
Why, yes. It was my first time encountering this ore, after all, so I kept a few loose shavings to study myself later. They're right over there, in fact.
Thank you, sir. We'll take a look at them.
Try your luck betting on jade?
Huh? If my eyes don't deceive me, the cross-sections and yes, it's not particularly rare, nor is it especially valuable. I've heard it said that Smaragdus nephrite is in fact the outer layer of Smaragdus Jadeite, though no one's ever proven it.
A thin layer of separation, huh?
If you must see for yourself, try examining these shavings for traces of elemental energy. Smaragdus nephrite is an entirely ordinary ore, containing no elemental energy whatsoever.
Is that so? Well, we might as well give elemental sight a shot. So, did you find anything? So they really are different. But wait, how come Jichao is able to tell what it was just by looking at the shards? That's pretty awesome.
There's nothing special to it. It just so happens that I've come across a great many of these in my time. These two stones actually look very similar. Someone without a deep understanding of them would find it very difficult to tell them apart. There may be only a subtle difference for the casual viewer, but that translates to an astronomical difference in terms of the market price. And, I'm sure, a significant difference in the cost of having them carved into shape.
All right, let's focus up. We're going off on a tangent.
But never mind, Shirto. Why would Mr. Crossell...
Unusual actions have unusual reasons behind them. Let's take some of these shavings back to Chateau.
Miss Yanfei? Might I be so bold as to inquire,
If you could just confirm for me once more, sir. Mr. Crossell did indeed claim that the ore he brought to your store was in fact
yes, that's right. I still have a record of the job with me, in fact. Here. It says quite clear.
Then I have no further questions. But could I borrow the processing record and these—
Of course. But
Oh, I have my reasons. Ah, yes. Please sign here on this affidavit. This document shall serve as signed proof that these stone shavings originated from the—
yes, I see.
I wouldn't say there's been an incident, just a minor issue. Thank you, sir. I'll take these with me.
With this hard evidence to back us up, Crossell won't dare try to deny what he did!
On the contrary, this is far— If you want to make jewelry, you need a professional jewelsmith. Let me think. Jewelry. Nope. Aha! Got it! Sinxie. She often helps people—
Well, that was quick. How come you know so many people?
Because lots of people come to me for legal advice every day. As you know, Liyue Harbor is the city of contracts. And contracts, well, I should say laws, are very important to us. But the amendments made by the Tianquan to our laws are unnecessarily complicated. How can I put this? It just seems like they're hard to understand and impossible to finish. As such, legal advisors like myself provide quite the popular service indeed.
So you help them make sense of the law. But didn't you say that it's hard to understand and impossible to finish?
Yes, well, that's no obstacle because I've memorized all the legal codices.
You memorized them?
You sound surprised. Knowing the law inside out is a legal advisor's bread and butter. Oh, this has nothing to do with being an adeptus. I just like reading things.
Again, with that casual tone.
Well, that's that then. Let's go look for Sinxie.
Try your luck betting on Jade?
Oh, Miss Yanfei, it's you. Has something happened?
Have no further trouble from then on? Yes, of course. I'm just here to ask you, has a merchant by the name of Crossell asked you to put him in contact?
Crossell. Yes, I remember him. He's a merchant from Snezhnaya, no? Yes, he came to me with the design of the hairpins that he gave me was quite intricate, so it took me some work to find this order was on hold for a very long time, and only completed quite recently.
Doesn't seem like there's any evidence to be found.
Miss Sinxie, I'd like for you to confirm for me once more. When Mr. Crossell commissioned you to find him a jewelsmith?
Yes, I'm sure of it. The hairpins were made using many expensive materials, and the asking price was quite high, so we had to put this transaction on record with the Ministry of Civil Affairs. Mr. Crossell wasn't very familiar with the necessary procedures, so I also kept a copy for my own records. See for yourself, the item is called Smaragdus Jadeite Twin Phoenix Pins. The inlaid gemstone is recorded as Smaragdus Jadeite. The document even has the official seal of the Ministry on it.
Thank you, Sinxie. Now, could you let me borrow this document?
Sure. It isn't serving much purpose here anyway. I take it then that...
Nothing you need to worry about. Just a minor issue. I'll return your document as soon as I'm done with it.
Why is everyone's first reaction always to assume someone or something?
I believe we have almost all the evidence we need. We just need to make one last—
The weirdo with the snake around?
Because only he can provide an authoritative statement confirming that Smaragdus Jadeite is harmful to the human body. Once we have this final piece of evidence—
Join the Adventurers Guild. You'll have a...
My, to what do I owe the pleasure? Though I'm afraid that if you're looking for our little Chi-Chi, she's out gathering herbs. And if it isn't Miss Yanfei as well, now that's an even rarer honor. What business brings you here, might I inquire? Some charlatans peddling ineffectual medicines again, no doubt?
No. I'm here this time to ask if you're familiar with Smaragdus Jadeite.
Smaragdus Jadeite? Why, yes, there is some information about it included in the 6th commentary on the 7 Mountain Treatises. The 7 Mountain Treatises states that this substance springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains, and will bring disaster to any mere mortals who touch it. It is abundant in elemental energy, so if someone without a vision is in contact with it for a prolonged period, best case scenario, they fall ill. Worst case scenario, they'll suffer great changes in personality, and their illness will only ever get worse. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't come all this way just to chit-chat. Knowing you, Yanfei, and given the specific nature of your question, I suppose that you're about to ask me to write an official affidavit attesting to the pharmaceutical peculiarities of Smaragdus Jadeite?
That is indeed the case. If you would be so kind, Dr. Baiju.
No trouble at all. It's just a single document. Won't take me a moment. I would mention, though, that you are not the only one who's developed a curiosity for Smaragdus Jadeite recently. A Snezhnayan merchant came to ask me about it not long ago. But after I gave him my reply, his expression shifted to one of remarkable disappointment. I wonder, Miss Yanfei, if your pressing business might be related to this Snezhnayan merchant?
You needn't concern yourself about that, Dr. Baiju. Thank you for penning us that document. I'll make sure to compensate you in due course.
You're too kind. Take care now.
That Baiju guy is its... Is it just Paimon, or does it feel like he was fishing for something back there?
Dr. Baiju's always been like that. Well, we have the evidence we need. Let's go.
Miss Yanfei, have you finished your investigation? I trust you will now be in a position to assess the compensation due.
Yes, my investigation is indeed concluded. I can now provide a final figure for the amount payable.
Wonderful. Well then, please, could you do the honors, Miss Yanfei?
Of course. According to the stipulations of the contract, Mr. Crossell, you must pay Miss Zerchow 10 times the original transaction price in Mora.
Sure. Wait, what? Me pay her? Surely there's been some kind of mistake, Miss Yanfei.
Not at all. According to my investigations and the material evidence that we've gathered, the substance claimed to be Smaragdus Jadeite that was inlaid within the Smaragdus Jadeite twin phoenix pins that you rented out to Miss Zerchow was, in fact, Smaragdus Nephrite. Now, the contract states very clearly that 10 times the price shall be paid should the article not be genuine. Accordingly, you are liable for this sum, which is payable to Mr. Chow in Mora.
Material evidence? What material evidence? Why, Miss Yanfei, you cannot frame me like this. I spent a huge sum to obtain that Smaragdus Jadeite, and yet you claim that the ore inlaid on the hairpins is somehow fake? I demand to see your evidence.
Indeed. Only a testimony from an expert witness involved in the processing of the ore can serve as an authoritative assessment of whether it is genuine. Traveler, please produce the evidence in question. If we want to determine whether the ore is genuine, we need to start with evidence from the Jade Mystery. Clearly, you still have a few things to learn. This is a processing record from the...
Seriously? Even the boss there couldn't differ. In any case, Smaragdus Nephrite is the outer layer of Smaragdus Jadeite. So I had him cut away the Nephrite.
That's an unsubstantiated...
Well, your claim that my ore is fake is just...
Looks like hard evidence. Something legally binding. We have... Oh, come on. I meant the backup copy of the document from the Ministry of Civil Affairs. The one we got from... Oh, come on. I meant the backup copy of the Oh, come on. I meant the backup copy of the document from the Ministry of Civil Affairs. The one we got from Sinxi of Mingsing Jewelry. Oh, come on. I meant the backup copy of...
This document proves that my hairpins are the real deal, doesn't it? This is the Ministry's...
Our second piece of evidence didn't work.
You know, you could be right. Perhaps the hairpins are the real deal.
Of course I'm right. All the evidence...
Well, hang on a moment now, because I do recall one final piece of evidence that we haven't... Traveler, would you do the honors?
What's the...
Smaragdus jadeite springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains and will bring disaster to any mere mortals who touch it. Sustained contact with Smaragdus jadeite over a prolonged period will, in less serious cases... Mr. Crossell, were you aware of these peculiar properties of Smaragdus jadeite? No idea, you say? I'd guessed as much. I'm afraid that this falls outside the scope of my work, but within that of the Ministry of Civil Affairs. However, I'm sure that the Ministry will be relatively lenient. Don't worry, Mr. Crossell. I will make sure that all the evidence... I trust that you'll give them your full cooperation in their investigations.
What? Wait!
Oh, so you knew? Oh, dear, Mr. Crossell.
Huh? No,
Aren't actually inlaid with genuine Smaragdus jadeite? Is that what you do understand, Mr. Crossell? Mr. Crossell, your answer, please.
Yanfei's seriously intimidating right now. It's like she's a different person.
I admit it. I confess. The ore I had inlaid on those hairpins was Smaragdus nephrite. But I'm a victim in all of this too. I invested a great deal of time and money into acquiring that small amount of Smaragdus jadeite in the hopes of turning it into a piece of jewelry that would fetch a fine price. But after receiving it and carrying it around for a few days, I started to feel extreme discomfort. I couldn't sleep a wink or eat a single bite. I was in a constant state. I went to Boo Boo Pharmacy to get myself checked out, only to discover that this sort of stone cannot be worn as jewelry. But how could I let all that money go to waste? That's why I had another pair of hairpins made from Smaragdus nephrite, which is almost indistinguishable from Smaragdus jadeite. I kept the real Smaragdus jadeite, and especially I was worried that someone would see through it, which is why I only dared to rent them out, not sell them. And then to top it all off, Zhiqiao lost the hairpins.
Exactly! If they weren't the real deal...
I didn't want to either, but when I purchased that Smaragdus jadeite, some of my business partners found out. If word got out that I sold a pair of fake hair...
All right, let's cut the appeals phase right there. I failed to see what bearing any...
10 times.
Crossell looks like he could faint any second.
As for me, according to my contract with Mr. Chow, 20% of that sum will...
20%? That's as much as I spent on that
There's no need. It's fine. Even if the Smaragdus jadeite on those hairpins was fake, I still bear responsibility for loot.
Ms. Zhiqiao.
However, Mr. Crossell, since you have no use for that chunk of Smaragdus jadeite, why don't you...
What? But
Miss Yanfei, I'll turn this...
Well, that's not quite how the rules say this should go.
Thanks so much for your help this time, Miss Yanfei. When you have the time, I'll be...
Oh, come on. No need to stand on ceremony. Well then, that's good. Mr. Crossell, it seems that my client has no further claims against you.
Actually, Mr. Crossell, I could see from the hairpins you produce that you're very skilled in jewelry design. My family, on the other hand, works in the ore business, and we have a fair stock of... If we could join forces, your jewelry designs and our choice ores...
let me think for a moment.
Well, that's that. And we've got the Smaragdus jadeite that Granny wants too. All's well.
Exactly. Usually when someone tells us they've lost something, we end up searching all, even though
the right solution depends on your perspective on the problem. The objective of my client, Mr. Chow, was to reduce her liability to pay compensation. So, rather than looking high in Adeptus... Speaking of, you took part in that battle, didn't you? And Liyue Harbor is now a city ruled by humans. The title of Adeptus means precious little to me compared to my job as a legal advisor. In any case, don't you think that the Liyue Harbor of today needs legal consultancy far...
Paimon can think of someone who would definitely...
Well, since we got what we came for...
We should open a store here.
You've returned. Good, good.
Well, if we're all set, Granny.
Oh, you. Oh.
I'm off then. Bye! Oh yes, Traveler. Make sure you don't lose the bit. I've been looking into the laws of other nations as well. If you should ever bump into...
Come now, child. Are you leaving or are you not?
I'm leaving! I'm leaving!
That child. Yanfei might be overly garrulous, but she is also the most intimately acquainted with the city of... Liyue is not the same place I once knew. All right, then. Let us speak of this no more. Back on topic. I believe that I still owe you a little gift.
Oh, Paimon's so excited! How is it
It is but a single... There we go. This Serenity. Hold it firmly. If you were to drop it, go take these blueprints with you as well.
Wait a minute, Granny!
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I've already arranged for a certain little...